Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we crack open corporate reports to see what's really going on. Let's just say this next report is quite the roller coaster, and we're going to see if they manage to stick the landing. Alright, so today we're diving into Graphjet Technology's latest report, their quarterly update for March 31st, 2025. Think of this as their checkup to see how they're doing financially after the first quarter of the year. Before we jump into the nitty gritty, if you love getting these clear, simple breakdowns of complex financial documents, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And hey, we've got a growing community over on our Discord server linked in the description below where we chat about these things and more. Seriously, go check it out. Now, let's look at how Graphjet Technology has been performing. They haven't brought in any revenue yet, which means they haven't sold any products. This is pretty important because it tells us they're still in the early stages of their business, focused on development rather than sales right now. Their operating expenses, which are basically the cost of running the business, were quite high in 2024, over $14 million. But for the same period in 25, these costs dropped dramatically to only about $500,000. This massive drop isn't because they cut back a lot on everyday expenses like staff or marketing. Instead, it's mainly because they had a huge one-time bonus plan for their management team in 2024, which they didn't have in 2025. It's like saying we paid out a big bonus last year, so this year looks much cheaper in comparison. Because of these low expenses, their operating loss went down from over $14 million in 2024 to just over $500,000 in 2025. That's a huge change, but it's important to remember it's mostly due to that bonus payment. When we look at their net loss, it also dropped significantly from almost $14.3 million in 2024 to about $577,000 in 2025. Again, most of this improvement is because of that bonus payment. Now, let's look at the first 6 months of the year. The story here is quite similar. Their general and administrative expenses went from over $14 million in 2024 down to just over $1.2 million in 2025. And the main reason for this huge decrease is, you guessed it, that large bonus provision from the previous year. Their net loss for these 6 months also shrunk dramatically, from about $14.7 million in 2024 to just under $1.3 million in 2025. This is a big improvement on paper, but it's crucial to understand that the bonus was a major factor. Let's talk about how they're managing their money and what they have to keep the business running. They've mainly been funded by their shareholders and some debt. They've had a lot of losses and negative cash flow from operations, which means they're spending more money than they're making from their business activities. They're pretty open about it. Their plan to stay afloat relies heavily on getting more money from investors or through loans. They're currently in a pre-revenue stage, meaning they haven't really generated income from selling their high-tech graphene and graphite products yet, but they have exciting technology and are working on getting production going. This is a big number. An accumulated deficit means that over time, the company has lost more money than it has made. They're also quite honest that they don't have enough cash to cover their expenses for more than the next 12 months without bringing in more money. This is a classic going concern warning, which means they might have trouble staying in business if they can't raise more funds. They did bring in some cash, about $1.4 million in late 2024. They also mentioned settling some debts with their own directors and shareholders, converting debt into shares. This can be a good sign of support, but it also means the company's debt is being handled by those closest to it. Looking at the cash flows, they used about $1.1 million for their operations in the first half of 2025. This is largely because of their net loss, but also because they increased their inventory, meaning they bought more materials to make products, which ties up cash. In financing, they brought in about $1.1 million in the first half of 2025, mostly from selling shares to new investors. This is how they're keeping the lights on. Now, this part is a bit concerning. The report explicitly states there were material weaknesses in their internal controls for financial reporting. This means their systems and processes for tracking money and making sure financial information is accurate weren't strong enough. Essentially, they admit they don't have enough people, the right systems in place to handle their finances properly. This lack of strong internal controls can lead to errors and makes it harder to trust the financial numbers. They are planning to fix this by hiring outside help and improving their team, but it's a red flag for now. And speaking of risks, they mentioned that there are no major changes to the risks they previously disclosed in their annual report. One big risk they've talked about is competition, especially from China in the graphite and graphene market, and and how global trade issues like the US-China trade war can affect their ability to get materials and sell their products. They also highlight that their success depends on protecting their technology, and if they can't, others could copy them. This is a really critical update. Nasdaq, the stock market where their shares are traded, sent them a notice saying they were not in compliance with listing rules, primarily because of delayed financial reports. They were given a deadline to submit a plan to fix this. The CEO even went to a hearing to explain their recovery plan. They promised to file their missing reports by mid-September. Good news here. Nasdaq decided to let them stay listed, but on strict conditions. They need to show they can meet the minimum bid price on their stock by late August and file all their reports by mid-September. They also have to update Nasdaq on their fundraising plans. As a way to boost their stock price, they're planning a share consolidation, basically combining a bunch of old shares into one new share. This is often done to meet minimum stock price requirements like the one Nasdaq has. Now, looking at Graphjet technology, what's the big picture here? They have some really interesting technology with their palm kernel, shell-based graphene, and graphite, which could be a game changer for battery production. The cost advantage and sustainability angle are definitely strong selling points. However, they are still very much in the startup phase with no revenue yet and relying heavily on new funding. The big issue right now is their financial reporting and internal controls. Those material weaknesses are a serious concern for investors, plus the threat of being delisted from Nasdaq, even though they've got a reprieve, shows the precariousness of their situation. They need to execute perfectly on their promises to Nasdaq and clearly demonstrate a path to profitability and stable operations. Their ability to secure more funding and start generating sales while also getting their financial reporting in order will be key to their survival and success. It's a high risk, potentially high reward situation, but the risks are very present right now. Alright, that's our breakdown of Graphjet Technology's latest quarterly report. What's your take on their technology and their current financial stability? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this analysis helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more deep dives into company filings. Don't forget to join the conversation over on our Discord. The link is in the description. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.